So continuing on with this section, all of the variables that we dealt with in manipulating the formulas when we were solving for B or solving for any of the variables, they stood for a specific letter in a formula. And that letter stood for a real-life formula that people actually use. So for example, in this formula, I equals P RT, all of these stand for different financial concepts. I is interest, and I'm going to call it interest yield. P is principal. So principal is the amount of money you put into an account where over time it gains money. And the way it gains money is because banks use it to invest. So the principal is the money that you invest. R is the rate of interest. And that you want to write as a decimal. And T is how much time has passed. So in finance, when you go to a bank and you put your money into an account that has an interest rate, you get money just for keeping your money at the bank. And so the way they calculate how much you get is based on these interest formulas. This is called a simple interest formula because it doesn't involve what's called compounding. But it's a good place to start. We will do compounded interest a little later. We'll definitely cover it in Algebra 2. Compounded interest is just when your interest gets to earn interest. So when you guys end up getting jobs, and you go to your human resources meeting, I'm making it worse, I'm sorry. You go to your human resources meeting and they say, do you want to invest in your retirement? And you say, heck no, I'm 25 years old. Who cares about my retirement? I'm going to tell you right now, invest in your retirement. Every week, every month, every pay period, they can take out a little bit of money. They put it aside for you, and that money will earn money. It'll earn interest, or it'll just get invested, and it will earn yields. So if the stock market is doing well, it will earn money, and so whenever you are asked to invest for your future, even if you're 20, please do that, because the sooner you invest as a young adult, the more money you'll have later. So then you won't have to work until your 90s. You can kind of travel and have fun and hang out with your grandkids and relax. But the reason why that's possible is because the money that you invest can make money. And one way it makes money is it earns interest. So the way this works is you have a formula, I equals PRT. So I is the interest yield. So that's the money you make simply for having your money sit in the account, okay? You don't have to work, you don't have to go to McDonald's, you don't have to lifeguard, you just put your money in the bank and it will earn interest. So in this case, it earned $150 because I is 150, reading back here. The principal that was invested was $2,000, so that was there. It says find R, so I don't know R, and T is 2 years. Wow. T is 2 years. So what I'm doing is filling in every missing piece of information except for what I don't know, which is the rate. And so this will tell me what interest rate was awarded for this particular yield. So in other words, someone, let's say, got $2,000. They decided to put it in an account for 2 years, and this is how much interest they got at the end of 2 years. And they want to know what was the interest rate. So we're going to solve. So 150 equals, and I can go ahead and multiply these two together. So 2,000 times 2 is 4,000. So this is 4,000 R. And then to solve for R, I'll divide both sides by 4,000. So then I can calculate the interest rate. So that is my interest rate. And so when you go to the bank, they are going to advertise this in terms of a percent. So you can give that as a decimal, or in terms of a percent, this is 3.75% interest. And if you've ever seen the terms like on a commercial or in a bank, APR, APR stands for annual percentage rate. Annual means yearly, and then percentage rate. So every year that you keep your money in the account, they will give you 3.75% just to keep your money there. Because they're investing it, they're getting money off of the deal as well. So, but you get money off the deal.
Does it change depending on like what bank you use?
It changes dramatically depending on the bank you use, and it depends on the market. So interest rates are guaranteed for very safe investments like bank accounts. But if you are invested in stocks like Apple, Nike, Disney, those go up and down every single day depending on how well the business is doing. So those are risky, but they can earn you 10% or they can earn you negative percentage rates, which means you can lose money. The bank accounts, though, are guaranteed, okay? But these days, bank accounts get you 1% APR if you're lucky. This is a bit high. But back when my parents were, you know, their rates were more close to 5%. But these days, interest rates are really low. So to get good interest rates, you have to invest, but then it's risky. We're on a bubble right now. Okay, interest rate, we're getting a lot from our investments right now, but things could go really crazy. We're very volatile right now with our lives. So, have you guys ever heard the term a bubble?
Yeah.
So that just means like we're at a high or at the top of the bubble. That's what I'm predicting, and all of a sudden the stocks might come down. So people might get a little nervous. But this is guaranteed money. It's very safe. So if you go to a bank, you invest your money in a bank account, you'll get about 1% at the end of each year. So if you invest $100, you'll have an extra dollar, which isn't much. But if you have more than that, you can just keep investing. But again, stocks are riskier.
Can't you get like your money out of stocks, like whenever you want?
You can. Stocks have what's called liquidity. If money is liquid, that means you have access to it at any time. Other money is not as liquid, like if you've heard of mutual funds. Mutual funds are where you pay a company to invest for you. So that money is tied up a little differently because they need time to sell for you. So, and if you've heard of something called a CD you have to be in for like 6 months, where you buy a CD and that money is tied up for 6 months. If you invest for retirement, that money is tied up until you retire, which is great because if I knew that I had money access to that money, maybe I'd go out and buy a different car. Like I don't need to have access to that money. So you have money that you have access to right now and money you don't have access to, and it helps you to not spend money that you shouldn't spend. So all about your mind frame. But yeah, bank accounts you can just take out whenever you want. So this is finance, a little bit about finance. Here's not finance at all, this is geometry. So we have a rectangle's length that's 3 times its width. So for these, I always like to draw a little diagram to represent. So we have a rectangle, 3 times its width is its length. So clearly I don't know either of those things. So my suggestion to you is to call the shorter side x. So I'm going to label the shorter side x. And then what would I label the longer side given the information in the problem? DJ?
It's
3x, good. Because it says the length is 3 times the width. So if I call the width x, the length is 3x. Then it states the perimeter is 64 inches. That is what gives me my equation. So who can tell me the equation? Damian?
You can do x plus 3x equals 64.
X plus 3x. So what's the definition? Go ahead.
Or x times 2 plus 3x times 2 equals 64.
Okay. So x times 2 plus, I'll do it like this, x times 2 plus 2 times 3x equals 64. And why did you double both of those sides, Damian?
Because it's 4 sides.
Yeah. So we have 2 sides that are x units long and 2 sides that are 3 units long. So 2 sides that are x, 2 sides that are 3x, and that equals 64. Questions on that? So I have 2x plus 6x equals 64 by multiplying and then combining. 8x is 64 and then x is 8. Now your answer is not x is 8. X is 8 is a step towards the answer. So what I have to do is look at the problem to see what the question is. So who can answer the question for me? Shelley? What is the answer to the question that's being asked?
actually the current dimensions of all four sides, and you can have two sides.
So what are the dimensions?
The dimensions
Ashley?
8 and 24.
Yeah. So you would say 8 by 24. So to list dimensions, normally they use the x as the by. So it is an 8 by 24 rectangle. 8 because this side is x units long, and 24 because the other sides are 3 times 8. 3 times 8 is 24 units long. And that x, when you're talking about like carpentry or geometry, you say by, 8 by 24. So it's an 8 by 24 rectangle. If you have a picture, it's like 3.5 by 5 picture or a 4 by 6 picture. So they just use that word to list dimensions. Okay, so 8 by 4, 24 inch rectangle. In the units for inches, you can use little quote marks. That's the mark for inches.
Just square inches.
Because you're not listing the area, if you were to multiply them together, it would be square inches, but just one side is just 8 inches.
Oh, okay.
Other questions? So now we have some percent math. So you go to the store, you buy a pair of jeans, and it's $52.50. But that was the price after a discount. And let's pretend we're shopping in Minneapolis. If you shop in Minnesota, clothing has no sales tax. So if you see that something costs $60 and you go to ring it up, it is exactly $60. There's no tax on clothing. It's awesome. So if you go to the Mall of America, no taxes on clothing. Yeah, it's great. If you go to Chicago, not great. It's like 9%.
Their
Really
tax
high.
is terrible. They tax on plastic bags. It was like 80 cents a plastic bag.
Yeah, so like certain stores, like if you buy a plastic bag, they have to scan this little barcode and it's like 8 cents, that's like 7 cents. So,
I somewhat support that for purposes of environment, but
yeah.
financially, I don't. Okay, so what is the original cost of the jeans? So I'm gonna assign that variable X. And I have to calculate what I do to find the cost after the 25% discount. So when you think about the math you do to calculate discounts, and I do highly encourage you to do this because the people in the stores don't care if you actually get the correct discount, so you should do it yourself. So you are not taken advantage of. Do the math. How do you calculate a 25% discount if the original price is X dollars? Davian? Okay, so what would that look like?
0.25 times 52.5.
So the 52.5 is the answer after the discount has
after it.
occurred.
Oh,
So how would you calculate it if the original cost was X? Keep going.
X times 0.25 equals 52.5.
All right, how do you guys feel about that? Okay, go ahead and calculate that. Again, I would probably use a calculator today. These application problems, the numbers aren't nice in reality, so. So, do we think the jeans cost $210?
No. Oh, well, what did you subtract the 52 from the 10?
Okay, so let's think about this.
Search.
Denise just said, wouldn't you subtract, I'm sorry, can you say that again?
You would subtract the 52.5 from the 210. Like you would divide it, and then you get the number, and you subtract that.
So this was the final cost.
Yeah. So you subtract it to find out
From what?
from the 210.
So you're saying 210 was the original cost?
So you subtract it to find what was the discount.
So you're saying the discount was like $150?
Yeah.
Davian?
Can you multiply 0.25
Just it's like a chicken and egg thing, like we have the answer, but we need to know what the original cost was.
You'd hold. You multiply times the 25, the 0.25, and then whatever you get, you add it to the 52. Because then you get what was the original like price before the discount.
Okay, how about you try that? And DJ, you had your hand up.
Is it possible that you could divide 0.25
Divide 0.25 by X.
by?
I got
Isaac?
Do you times it by 75%? That would be the estimate. Or, not 75. 75.
no, not necessarily. You can have
Doesn't matter.
Okay, so why 75%, Isaac?
Because that's the rest of it.
Because that's
You
the
took
rest.
out 25. Yeah, fine. Never mind.
So you took off 25%. So what percent of it do you pay?
75.
Okay, so I did what he said,
Oh,
and
wait.
I got, wait, but then you
Yeah.
would,
So you gotta, yeah, I think maybe like, what is,
Okay, so what were you gonna say, Damian?
that's 75% of the total cost. So, if you divide that by 3, to get like the base of, out of all work, and then add that to 52.5, then you can use
So let's think about what we do at the store. You have your original price, right? And you take off the discount, right? Like, let's say jeans cost $100. You subtract the discount, and that's how much you pay, right? How do you calculate the discount?
Don't you multiply 0.25 times 52.5 and then you subtract that?
what you get
Yeah.
from the 52.50.
Okay, so you're saying take 0.25 times this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you take 0.25 times this, what do you get?
You get 13.13.
What?
Oh, yeah,
sure.
you're around
13 point how much?
13.
13. And then you add it,
Yes.
so what did you get as your original cost?
$65.63.
Okay, so let's just go through this exercise. If this was the original cost, what is 25% off this?
13,
13%.
Is it?
I don't know.
Well, it's like, well, we originally got like 13.125, but you rounded it to 13.3.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do 60, you guys get your calculators up. 65.63, 65.63 times 0.25. 16.41. So times 0.25. So this would be a $16.41 discount.
Which is reasonable.
So if I take that and subtract off 65.63, I get $49.22. So is that right?
No.
No. So what was the problem with it?
You love
I
No,
know.
it's, well, I mean, it's not 25% off, so it's not.
I think, Denise, you're thinking of taking it off and adding it makes sense, but you're taking 25% off the already reduced cost and not the original cost.
But then, how would you get the original cost?
Right, so X is the original cost.
Yeah, so you'd multiply. Wait, but that's what we were doing originally, and it
Yeah.
didn't work.
So let's go back to Isaac.
That's all it's confusing.
Let's go back to Isaac. If you're at the mall and jeans cost X dollars, right?
Yeah.
And then you subtract the discount, right? How do we calculate the discount, Damian?
Say that again.
How do you calculate the discount?
Like a formula for it?
Yeah.
I just thought of X equals 0.25 X.
0.25x. So watch this, guys. Look, everybody, I know we were thinking and talking about many things, but this is the original cost. This is the discount. The discount is 25% of the original cost, right?
Yes.
And that equals what we get after we take that out.
Okay.
So the original cost minus the discount equals what we get.
Yeah.
Now, what is the coefficient on X here?
1.
1. What's 1 minus 0.25? 0.75x. So, in other words, Now, this is I teach people this in stores, as I walk through the Gap, and I see people with a calculator doing all of these calculations. If you realize that taking a 25% discount is the same as retaining 75%. If you take 25% off, how much is left? 75% off. So all you have to do is multiply that by 0.75 and you'll find out how much it'll cost. You don't need to do two operations, calculate the discount and subtract. You just need to do one operation. How much do you retain?
So like if it's like 30%, you would do the 70%.
Yes. So if it's 30% off, how much do you retain? 70%. If it's 60% off, how much do you retain? 40%. Yes. So to calculate, you divide both sides by 0.75. So you just have to think of how much of it are you going to pay? You're going to pay 75% of the amount. So how much do we get? How much are those pieces?
$70.
70?
Yep.
Now, if you take 25% of 70 and subtract that off of 70, you should get 5250. It should work. Unless math is broken, which it really shouldn't.
What is math is broken?
Then I'd have to go back and figure out what I did wrong.
Wait, no, what if like magic so?
It wouldn't break. Okay. What's wrong? Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so it was a good thought. It was just what you were taking.
I just thought,
Yeah,
I got confused and I was thinking that the two was no discount cost.
Right. Right. It's,
But that's what you would do if there was a discount cost.
yes, exactly. All right. So what we are going to do is the rest of this assignment. So you're starting and you're going 75 to 99. Every other odd till the end. I do not. I just have scrap paper.
Can you play for me?
99.
Yeah.